I wanted to just do a walk and go video for you guys right now about everything that's kind of shaken up. So we've had major eclipses going on, and I know I normally do like the weekly energy video, but it just doesn't feel right now. I feel like there's a major shakeup within the world, within the country, and I feel like there's like a lot of truths that are kind of coming to light right now. I feel like with all of like the breaking news stories with Hollywood and everything, it's all connected in. And I think a lot of us are going to start to put together the dots between these networks and how they've been operating and how they have been controlling and keeping us from getting justice. So we know Roe versus Wade was overturned. That was a big deal. But a lot of the messages and messaging that has gone out, especially with like Trump's Dictator for a Day platform that he's been running on, is the negating of women's rights, the reversal of women's rights. And Roe versus Wade was just one of those instances where that was happening. But I was getting a lot of messages intuitively last year that they were going to go next to the voting rights. And that's literally what it has come down to, is, you know, this war almost against women, and this white supremacy, white nationalist platform that has been deeply embedded in our country. And a lot of this stems back, to World War II, and a lot of it also comes in through Project Paperclip, which I know a lot of you guys are familiar with. And I think we are now having to assess a lot within our country, within the government, within our justice systems, and also 4 years of the Trump presidency. So this one is new to me because a lot of times I would go on my channel and was trying to connect back these networks to the government. I was having a hard time because I would go back and forth between a lot of what happened to me with my attacks, with the MK Ultra, with this technology, with this system that I've talked about so candidly on my channel that's on my freaking head. And I was able to like link it to Hollywood. I was linking it to all of these dark groups, like Scientology has come up, Zuckerberg, Elon, the whole crew. Bill Gates has come up, but I was not really able to freaking always connect it in to, I guess, our government. But recently I did see something circulate on Instagram that kind of was like a aha moment for me. And it was that there is a film department within our Pentagon, which I did not know about. So that's really interesting because I always talked about Scientology, and the founder of Scientology, one of the founders, was CIA. And if you watch Blown for Good, the YouTube channel, it is all former Scientologists, and one of them was pretty high ranking. Actually, I think both of them was pretty high ranking, if I'm not correct, within their organization. But they definitely treat their organization very much like a military organization, in terms of rank and power and based on how much you spend, It's very money oriented. If you guys are not familiar with Scientology, definitely watch the docu-series that was done by Leah Remini, and that'll kind of give you more of an idea of just how sick the entire church is, that it's a cult. At this point in time, I'm surprised that the members that have been involved in so many crimes have not been implicated or arrested at this point. I know it was a big deal about Danny and what happened with him, but I truly believe with Danny, he's from That 70s Show, and he went down, I believe, for, was it rape? I don't know. He was sentenced for rape. I believe he is a baby of this network. I don't believe he is the original perpetrator. I believe that he was groomed in some way. I believe that a lot of the people that are in our age range were to some form victims of a very sick, dark trafficking type network. And I feel like it's very undercover. It's part of these secret societies. And I feel like he is in some way, I know he is obviously coming in as the attacker and that's how his story is going out, but I do feel in some way he is a victim for some reason. Like there is something within me that feels like he's a victim of this network. It doesn't mean that he didn't actively partake in the crimes though, okay? So I'm not saying that, but I think that there is something with the network that they're involved in, that they are groomed in some way to become these type of perpetrators. And I think that it's all part of the plan. I think that's how they trick and manipulate their members into becoming like pedophiles and, just like, criminals. And I think that's how they keep them under control. And Ryan Garcia, the boxer, okay, he has come forward. He has talked about Bohemian Grove being a victim of rape and also watching crimes of pedophilia, child trafficking, okay? So he's come forward very openly and candidly against a lot of these people because he's a witness to these crimes. And I feel like what he says really resonates with me, that they all commit the crimes together, and that's what keeps them locked in. That's how they support each other. That's what keeps them protected, is within the crimes. So the only way for them to get out of these secret societies is that they go down for the crime. So that would be the example of Danny, okay? So he gets out of it, so he goes down for his crimes. So I think right now that's what we are uncovering, because we have to understand that this is how they have maintained control over the government, over world leaders, over congressmen, okay, over everything, okay, judges, lawyers, corporations. This is how they infiltrate corporations. Stephen Hilton had posted a video specifically about being at a very dark ritual where there was a murder crime, and he said that there were CEOs and CFOs from banks at that fucking ritual, okay? That's the stuff we are uncovering right now. It is not a coincidence that Kanye West's personal trainer is a intelligence officer. He was a Canadian intelligence officer. Within 3 days, that information was scrubbed from the internet. I found it on the internet before it was scrubbed. Intelligence officers are put in place around celebrities. They're put in place to control, manipulate, weaponize, own. And I believe to frame, set up, and again, like Ryan was saying, to be aiding in the crime. I think a lot of Epstein and what he did was kind of like luring people in, getting them trapped on his island. Once you're on an island, you can't get off. You can't get off that island until you have a fucking plane, right? Or a boat. So you're essentially trapped if you get onto an island, okay? And so what? You witnessing a crime? You take place in a crime? But they could just pump somebody with drugs. They could pump you with drugs and then implicate you for a crime. You could be blacked out. You might not even know what the fuck is going on, okay? But that's how these people operate. That's how they think. And once they get dirt on somebody, once they have the video on somebody, they own them, essentially. I feel like it was a very strategic, tactical approach. This is very well thought out infiltration. This is a form of warfare. If you watch that show, Back to Blown for Good, they go through the spy files. They are eye-opening. They're also very eerie. They're also very sick, okay? The people who are doing the spy files is very mentally ill. They go back and forth. They play out every single scenario possible, and it's very exhausting and gross. And they do it to me through this mind prison system. I have a prison guard that they use, a bot system, that goes through every single one of my thoughts, not even what I'm saying out loud, thoughts, and they act like they're for you, and then they turn it around and use the thought against you, okay? It's a very sick intelligence officer game. They're very mentally ill, this group, and it's how they operate, and it's how they've operated for a long time. We're talking decades here, and this is how that they have come through, infiltrated our country. That is why we have the Marjorie Taylor Greene still. This is why we have the Matt Gaetzes in office. This is why. They are part of this dark, deep-seated network. If somebody were to have this voice to skull system on their head, which a lot of people have come forward and have talked about, the goal is to trap you, to make you feel victimized, to torture you so that you can't enjoy any single moment in life ever again, to make you feel that you have no privacy, okay, no privacy at all. I am right now being human trafficked. I am a human trafficking victim. In that same instance that I say I'm a human trafficking victim, they will turn it around and say that I work for the government and that I was a plant. Okay, that's the level of this infiltration, okay? There's two sides to every freaking coin, okay? And everything they say, they will say because of what I've talked about, that I was a plant and that I work for the CIA, okay? That's what they'll say. Now, in the human 3D life I live, I say I'm a human trafficking victim. That's how I feel right now. I do not feel that I have rights as a US citizen. I do not feel that I had a choice other than to walk away from my children, okay, in order to protect them and start to get answers. I would say that I'm also one of many, and there are so many celebrities and people in power that are going through the exact same thing as me. But if they were to come forward and say it, one, they could be implicated for crimes that they were set up to commit. Two, they would be gaslit as crazy, and they would potentially lose their positions in power. Or three, they would just resign and they would have to leave quietly or disappear. Okay, so that would be the options that they would be faced with right now if they were victims of this targeting. I am being told right now and instructed that I need to start over, and I don't know how to do that unless this entire system is removed from my head. It is a non-stop torture system. I am told that I have to marry somebody, okay? Throughout the last 3.5 years, I have been bought and sold. I have been moved through their networks. Typically, when a person gets close to me, it switches out and moves into another person who is a foreign dignitary or an enemy, and then or a terrorist, and then I get attacked by a very hardcore weapon, and they are in my energy field at that point. They are looking for people that you have a connection with. They infiltrate your soul contracts. They infiltrate your DNA. And the sickest thing about this system is that the minute you feel safe, or the minute you put trust into someone who's in your energy field that is connecting to you, that's when they strike. That's when they strike to kill you. And I have gone through, I don't even know how many murder attempts. I have left my body so many times in this system. I have been through so many torture programs, and it is literally through faith and prayer that I am still here today. I would never suicide myself, and I have said this so many times on my channel. I would never suicide myself. This network is so dark. It's so disgusting. I can't even put into words exactly. But there are victims of these global trafficking networks that are in-person victims, and they were groomed as little girls to go after world leaders, to own those world leaders and implicate them in crimes so that they were no longer free. One of the victims explained how they sell the little girls to the leaders as a friend, as someone that they can trust. And the girls are, like I said, groomed to be there for that man. And I have witnessed that happening with my own children, my own daughters, specifically my oldest. And it's very sick. It's very scary, and it's very gnarly, and it's very real. And these pedophilia networks, I feel, have been ramped up in the last several years. And I think a lot of it has to do with this trafficking technology that no one is talking about or addressing. That is also very real and part of a cover-up. I reported this technology to many, many people, okay? And the reason I documented my attacks and came back onto my channel after I left it fully and turned it into something completely different is because I felt I would never get the help I needed. And I knew I needed to be a voice for women out there. And now for my daughters. So I will leave you guys there, but I feel like there is a major shakeup happening right now. There is an internal war within our own government, within our own police departments, justice system that I believe is going on right now. And there's a lot of people who I think were set up or framed, possibly during the Trump presidency, that led to an infiltration. That's what I believe. And I believe it's still happening to this day. I know that they pay millions of dollars for people to, or for groups or companies to destroy people's lives. And I am a victim of that as well. So thanks so much for your continued prayers, support. Thank you for supporting me over here. Thank you for helping to share my story because it's real. Technology trafficking, I think, is even more dangerous because you can't see the device. You can't see it happening. You would have to have a very advanced intel system to be able to pick it up. Okay? It's invisible to the naked eye. And that's why I think it's more deadly, especially because it's connected to your brain. Okay, so these are neuro weapons, and I've talked about the neuro patents I've uncovered. I have gotten a copy of the V2K neuro patents. They're Navy patents, and I also saw the Air Force patents that are connected to the Monarch mind control. So I am wishing you guys the best. Thanks again for your love, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.